but they actually were considered reliable history, that you could read what these guys wrote and see what they believed. These are the guys who actually got the faith from the apostles, So I started reading this book, and I was like, for me, it was like that was the nail in the coffin, It was like, not only did I come to believe that the Bible, the Catholic Church was the most biblical church, but then that there was proof in history that the stuff the church was teaching was actually taught by the apostles. And I was like, and it was the same 2,000 years later. It was like, wow. This stuff that they're telling me, this is the church that Jesus started, and these teachings have been preserved for 2,000 years is actually almost like, to me, historical record. And I was like, I'd never heard that before. And so everything kind of started to come to a head because, at the RCIA class, it reached the point where Father Paul asked me, are you ready to make the next step? Because I need to know if you want to be baptized and join the church, because we're going to start having these special ceremonies that we want you to participate in if you're going to join. And then the other thing that was happening is my wife was getting really big, and the baby was coming soon, and I knew once the baby came, I'm not going to have any free time to do all this reading and stuff. And so I kind of sat down with Father Paul, and I said, I'm kind of at a point where I know I've read enough, but I'm still not convinced. It's not, I can't prove that this is true empirically, scientifically. There's still this doubt I'm having. I mean, I'd read everything to know that this is all I'm going to get, and it was rational. I could admit that this was really rational to believe, but my whole way of thinking as an engineer was that unless I could prove it, and I knew I could never prove that Jesus was present in the Eucharist or that he was actually rose from the dead. I mean, I was smart enough to know that, so I kind of was at a crossroads and didn't know what to do. And I told this to Father Paul, and he said, you're coming at this all wrong. You can't ever reason your way into faith. Faith is a gift. You have to, this is not the way it works. And I was like, I didn't really understand that. And he goes, the key question for you now is, do you want to believe? And I sit and thought about it, and I go, yeah, I want to believe it. I mean, if I were to believe in God, this is the God I'd want to believe in. I mean, this is a pretty great story. I wish I could believe it. You know what I mean? I really want to believe it. And he goes, well, that's good news, because really all you need to do now is pray for faith. And because that's the prayer that Jesus always answered. And he kind of showed me that verse in the Bible where, Jesus says, ask and it will be given, seek and you will find, and knock and the door will be open. So he's like, you need to start knocking on the door. You've asked all the questions. You've gotten the answers now. So if you want in, start asking to come in. And so I thought, well, that's a great idea, And he guaranteed me that, if you do that, you'll get that gift. And so I said, okay. I started praying for faith, and I started praying every night, really sincere. I mean, I was really, really sincere about it. And I'd say, Jesus, show me a sign, make yourself present to me just for a second, that's all I need. Just 1 second, and then I'll believe, or do some miracle for me, and it didn't happen. It was like, it kept doing this weeks and weeks and weeks, and it's like I started really almost starting to panic, I was like, well, maybe this isn't true, I mean, if God's real and I want to believe, how come he's not giving me this gift of faith? But what I didn't know at the time was he was waiting for the perfect moment to give me that gift. And so it's like, the time kept going on, and my wife actually finally went into labor, and it was this grueling labor. I mean, it went on for like 18 hours, and it was like, I mean, I was so excited. The anticipation was just amazing. I mean, I'd wanted to be a father my whole life. It was just like something I really wanted to be, but it just was taking forever. And it was just like building up, and and I kind of had time to think about it, and I kept thinking, why am I so excited about this? I mean, I knew deep down this was going to be the most exciting moment of my entire life. And I was like, why do I want to be a father? Why? I knew when this happened that, I'm going to not get any sleep. I knew that, my life as I knew it was over, as far as my, my selfish free time to read and all this kind of stuff. I'd already kind of made compromises with my career. My career was so important to me. And I'm like, there's all these costs to having this child, but why do I want to be a father? And it kind of dawned on me that the reason was because I wanted someone to love, to share my love with. And it kind of like, everything kind of started to click, you know. It was like, oh, that's what the Christian faith is all about, you know. It's like, that was Jesus' mission, was to come and teach that God loves you and he's like a loving father. And he doesn't really need you to be here, but he wants you here because he wants to share his love with you in his life. And it kind of like everything kind of came together. And then it's like the moment that my daughter was born, it was just like the most amazing thing that ever happened to me. And it's like I knew, like I could feel God present, you know, in the room. And I could feel that love that I felt for my daughter at that moment. I could feel that God loved me. You know what I mean? It was just like I was a mess. I was crying like a baby, and it was just like nobody knew what was going on deep down in my heart, but it was just like a very profound moment where I was given that gift of faith, and I've never doubted it ever since. And it's, you know, after that, I was baptized and confirmed. It was, I think, Easter Vigil 2001, so I've only been Christian Catholic for about 11 years. And what I really like about the Catholic faith is that it's not really all about like a one-time conversion experience. You know, a lot of people don't have that gift that I was given. It's really a lifelong conversion. And so, you know, every week when I go to Mass, I'm trying to be reconverted. You know, I'm trying to ask for God's grace, be forgiven for the times that I failed. And so I felt, you know, over these last 11 years, I think I've really grown into a better husband. I'm actually, I don't think I mentioned this at the beginning, but, you know, me and my wife now, we have 6 children. My oldest is 12, so, you know, she was actually a Christian before I was. And then every 2 years since then, my youngest child he's 2. His name's Matthew. And it's just looking back, it's like my life is like chaos right now. You know, we've got 6 kids. My wife and I both work. She's a doctor at Riley Hospital. I work at General Electric in Cincinnati. My life's crazy, but it's like I have so much more peace. I mean, I feel like I'm a new person. I mean, my Catholic faith, I haven't doubted it once since that day, and it means everything to me. And so I hope my opinion is, I think if God can touch me, he can touch anybody, because, I mean, I was 99% sure that it was all a myth, a fairy tale, and had a really hard heart to the whole thing. And if God can touch me, he can touch anybody. So I hope that encourages you on your journey, and I guess that's it.
That was awesome. Thank you. That was great. Thank you so much, Scott.